Hey lovelies, I'm Larissa J, and today, girl, we need to talk. Now, I'm sure that you've heard about Tia Mowry and her divorce, and my heart goes out to her. And in today's video, though, there are some things in her interview that just need to be addressed. So I want to preface this with this take, my take, is coming from a biblical perspective, perspective of a Christian woman. So I want you to bear that in mind as we have this conversation. None of this is personal, regarding Tia. Not really about her. This is more so about the narrative and the ideologies that are being pushed by the society that we live in today. So we're going to get right into the video. We're going to watch some clips from the interview, and I'm just going to jump in with my commentary. And of course, throughout this, feel free to jump in the comment section and let me know your thoughts and your take on all of this as well. And without further ado, let's get right into the video.
Comfortable asking you about it, but you and your husband, like a lot of couples, decided that it was better to be lived, your life's better lived apart than together.
Yes.
Okay, so before we even proceed, the interview just started, and as you can see, there's already that narrative that is being pushed, where she says, oh, well, you and your husband, like many other couples, have decided. We can already see that the narrative is forming, that divorce is being highlighted, and it is presented as an everyday occurrence, as, oh, this is normal, this is okay, and we embrace it. And if you are single watching this video, I definitely want you to key into these key points that I'm going to be covering today, because that is not true, especially if you are a Christian single and you are seeking to do things God's way. Do not go into a marriage with the backup plan of divorce. You need to choose wisely before you get married, so that when you get to that point of saying, I do, you already have in your mind that divorce is not an option. Don't go with the narrative that says, oh, everyone's doing it. Many couples decide to do this. No, that's not the way that we go about things, especially as believers. Well, let's keep watching.
Oh, that it was time.
That's a really good question.
To take that route.
I knew when I really started to focus on my happiness. I feel like women, we tend to focus on everybody else's happiness, making sure that everybody else is okay, meaning our children. Meaning, our children, our friends, our, family. But at the end of the day, it's about self-love. And when you start to really work on yourself, love yourself, know your value, know your worth, and then all of a sudden there's this awakening.
This is false, ladies. Like Tia grew up watching her show, but she is feeding you the wrong information that is absolutely not true. We are actually called to serve others. Biblically speaking, we are called to serve others. We are called to love others as we love ourselves. It is not about self-love. Now, yes, you should love yourself and take care of yourself, obviously, but you don't throw a whole marriage away because you need self-love. I mean, you think about it. What if Jesus had have said, oh, well, I need to focus on my happiness and my self-love, and it doesn't make me happy, nor am I loving myself by going to the cross for all of these people in their salvation. Like, what if he had have had that mentality regarding his love for us? Like, that's not how it works. He served us. He was selfless. And it's the same thing. Like I said, yes, take care of yourself. Yes, you should love yourself, but you don't use that as an excuse to get a divorce. Like, those are two different things. All right, on to the next clip.
Start to really work on yourself, love yourself, know your value, know your worth, and then all of a sudden there's this awakening. And it's not easy.
Okay, so the problem with what she just said here is that everything is out of order. You should know yourself. You should love yourself. You should work on yourself, know your values, know your worth before marriage. And that's the issue. Like, a lot of people are not doing that. People want to be in a relationship and they want to date and they want to do all of these things without doing the preliminary work. All of those things that she just listed, that's preliminary stuff. All of those are things, especially if you're single, hear me, those are all things that you should be doing right now while you're single. I don't understand why people like to use their single time to waste it doing whatever they end up doing, but not taking the time out to work on themselves, to know themselves, to learn what they like, to know their values, to know their worth, to invest in themselves. Like, when you're single, that is your time where you should be doing that. You don't wait until you get married and then say, oh, wait, it's been 15 years. I need to know myself and love myself. Like, You should have already figured all of that stuff out before bringing someone else into the picture. If you're not ready to bring someone else into the picture and serve them and be selfless, then you're not ready to get married. And for some reason, this is something that people are not saying, but it's the truth. If you're not willing to serve, if you're not willing to be selfless, if you're still selfish and thinking about what you need and what you want and your love and your this, then you're just not ready. And that's fine. But don't go in bringing someone else into it to turn around years later and say, oh, I'm not happy. I need to invest in myself. I need to figure myself out. So we're going to throw this away. Like, that's not the way to go about it. The awakening that she referenced should have already happened before getting married. Then there wouldn't be this specific problem within the marriage of her trying to figure out what she needs and all of that. Like, had it been done before, then it wouldn't be an issue now. And I get it. Some people who are listening to this may not have done this in their past. They may not have gone through the preliminary work and gotten married and now in hindsight say, oh, I probably should have done that. I do understand that. But if you're single, girl, I'm telling you, do this preliminary work now before getting married. Figure out all the things, know yourself, love yourself, invest in yourself, do all those things while you're single. So you don't show up years later into a marriage like, oh, I didn't do that. I should probably do that now. That's not cool.
Marriage is hard,
It takes a lot of work.
and it also takes a lot of guts to know.
All right, so this is another narrative, and this one is like my soapbox. We hear this a lot. Marriage is hard. A lot of people say that. I'm sure that you have heard it as well. Another thing is like, oh, if it doesn't work, it's okay. You know, divorce is an option. And that's the way a lot of people think, that is their mentality, but that is false narrative. Another thing that we hear, oh, love yourself. That's all you need. That is incorrect as well. It is not true. Now, marriage takes work. Yes. But what great things in life don't require work? Marriage is amazing, but you have to set yourself up to have it that way. Everyone gets a choice. You have to prepare when you're single. And I want to emphasize this. I feel like it's the theme of the video. You have to prepare when you are single. You have to do the work when you are single. That does not mean that when you are married, once you do the work as a single, that when you're married, then everything is smooth sailing every single moment of your life. You're dealing with two people. So you are going to have to learn how to deal with conflict. You are going to have to learn how to communicate. However, it does not mean that you are doomed to a marriage is hard lifestyle, unless that is the mentality that you choose to accept. And it will be hard for you if you fail to do the preliminary work as a single person. And this is funny to me. It's funny that it's not really funny, but it's crazy that women are so quick to just throw the man away, throw the marriage away because it's hard. But there are other things that are hard and they don't throw that away. Working your way up the corporate ladder, I'm sure there's some hard days within that. You don't throw that away. You don't just quit your job and stop working and living on the street because it was hard. You know what I'm saying? Being a mom, especially a lot of these women who are single mothers, I bet that that's hard. I bet that's very hard because motherhood in itself is a lot of work. It's a beautiful journey, but it's a lot of work some days. But yet you don't see these women throwing the kids away and saying, oh, well, I don't want to be a mom anymore because it's hard, because I need some self-love, because I need to figure myself out and know what I want to do. Like, they don't do that. They don't throw the kids away. They don't throw motherhood away, usually. But they're very quick to throw the man and the marriage away. It's very interesting. Have you noticed that? She's not throwing her kids away in the name of self-love. And this is the advice that keeps a lot of women single. And many of these women are too blind to see that this is the advice that's keeping them single. A lot of them like to speak vocally on these topics, and yet they're still single. And it's like, I don't think you're realizing that these ideologies, this narrative that you are embracing, it's keeping you single. I think the thing that is the most frustrating is that this narrative is being taught to young women, to single women, and honestly now older women too. They're all single. And it's like, okay, ladies, like, this is not working. Stop adopting this narrative. Stop accepting it as truth because it's not truth. And let's go back and look at what the Bible says. Let's go back and see what God says about this topic, because that's the only way that it's going to work.
Sadness. And I knew that life is short. I had actually, lost my grandmother. We had lost Elena Housley, and both of them at the same time. There was just an aha moment in me where I said, you know what? You need to tap in, see what's really going on with your happiness. Life is short.
All right. So sadness is not biblical grounds for divorce. Let's just make that clear. And I want to emphasize, in the interview, she talked about her joy, her peace, her happiness. If you don't have those things in your marriage, that does not mean to throw the whole husband away. That does not mean to throw the marriage away. You want to know what that means? That means you need to look at and evaluate your relationship with God, because the joy, the peace, and the happiness ultimately comes from Him. And that's another issue. People getting married think that, oh, you get married and that person is supposed to make you happy and they're supposed to bring you all this peace every single day. That's not it. Your peace and your joy and your happiness should be rooted in your faith, in your relationship with God. If you evaluate that and make sure that that's in check, that goes back to the hierarchy of things. It is God first, then your husband, then your kids, and then everything else. The problem is here, a lot of women like this put the husband first. In fact, that's not even true. They put the kids first and then the husband, and God is somewhere way down at the bottom. And that is why we see things like this happen, because that hierarchy is out of order. God first. You first get your peace, your joy, your happiness from your relationship with God. He will lead you and guide you in that marriage and make anything that you feel is crooked. He will help make that straight. But if you're not consulting Him within that marriage, then of course you're going to find yourself sad. If you don't have God at the center of that marriage, of course you're going to find that you don't have peace. But that's not necessarily the marriage or the man's fault. That comes from the fact that you don't have a relationship with God. Now, the man and the marriage can add joy, can add peace, can add happiness. That's ideal. That's the way that it should be. But you can't go in expecting to get those things only from the man and from the marriage. It's not the way that it's supposed to be. So if you find that you need to change something, that does not mean to automatically say, well, it must be the marriage. I need to change that. I need to get rid of that. I need to get out of that. Like, that's not the solution. It first and foremost needs to be, do I have a relationship with God? And if I do, am I investing in that relationship with God? Am I spending time with the Lord? Am I seeking wisdom from Him regarding the marriage? That is the ideal way to go about it.
I would say that. And I was in therapy as well. Yeah. I'm a huge fan of therapy.
All right, so therapy is another narrative. I know this is a touchy one, but therapy is another narrative. Everyone just loves therapy. Everyone just goes to therapy, right? But one thing that I find interesting is that we as people can be so quick to sit down and talk to another human, certified, yes, but another human, another person about issues and trauma and struggles and challenges and victories. But no one wants to talk to God, right? The ultimate therapist, the ultimate healer, the ultimate problem solver, the creator of the therapist that you're talking to. Yep, that's God. He's the one who made that person that you're talking to, right? Do you think that a therapist knows more than God? Do you think that a therapist can help more than God can? This is just food for thought. Not saying that therapists are bad. I just think that our society relies so heavily on them without giving God a second thought and without seeking to trust in His ability to rectify any issues that we have in our lives.
There's a celebration. So that's basically, how I'm looking at it now. And I feel like people when they look at marriage, that success equals longevity. But no, at the end of the day, it's, are they happy?
I mean, at this point, we just say whatever we want to say that speaks to the feelings and justifies our actions. Marriage is a covenant that should not be broken. Biblically speaking, infidelity is the only ground for divorce. Of course, if someone is physically abusive, it's a life and death situation there, that's understandable. But happiness, self-love, when the curriculum is over, no ma'am. The Bible says the two shall become one flesh. It says that what God joins together, let no man separate. So why y'all separating it? It just goes to show the lack of respect for God. Here's the thing. If you aren't willing to take marriage as seriously as it is, as a covenant, as a union, as a safe haven for the well-being and the mental health of your children, then don't get married, sis. Very simple. Very, very simple. If you aren't going to do it the way that God instructs you to do it, just stay single. Don't have kids, because all of this hoopla, all of these shenanigans are messing the kids up. Trust me, I have seen it. It is messing these kids up. There is no fulfillment that comes from a broken marriage. It's damaging. It's damaging to you. It's damaging to him. It's damaging to the kids because a covenant was broken. You just left a part of yourself because the two of you were one. How can you be happy focusing on yourself when you just left a part of yourself? You just lost a part of yourself. Ultimately, people in these situations who think of it as no big deal, they will be lost until they give all of those pieces to Jesus and allow him to heal and restore them. Of course, everyone's situation is different. Everyone experiences different things, but this video is specifically focusing on women who think it's okay, or even single women who intend to go into marriage with the mentality that if it doesn't work out, it's okay. If I'm not happy, I can just leave. No, no, no. That is not the mentality you should have going into a marriage. And if that is your mentality, then please just don't get married. Are you a modern woman, or do you stand for biblical principles? Are you a woman of God? Let me know down in the comments. If you consider yourself to be a woman of God, type WOG in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye.